2017 was such an important year for Crash. After his brief guest appearance in the Skylander series, his own brand was finally, after 6 years of inactivity, fully revitalized with the Insane trilogy. And despite the criticisms of the characters and gameplay, it was incredibly successful. It was so successful, in fact, that Crash's first racing adventure, CTR, was also remade from the ground up. But after that, we didn't know where else Activision would take the series. We found out they wanted to invest in brand new games beyond the remakes, but we didn't know what that would entail, or if it ever even happened. But after some teases, leaks, and images accidentally revealing a little too much, we'd finally get that surprise announcement at Summer Game Fest in June of 2020, over 5 years ago. And now, it's about time we gave this game one more thorough look.
Everybody going out of their skin. See, we get to the end, but that's where we begin. You feel it? Mannequins and we breaking the mold. Breaking out and we breaking the codes. Similar to the jack who stole to the depths in your wet, so you take explode, so get it out. Send your body to flight. Everybody got a target tonight. Everybody come along for the ride. All you studs and your duds and your ladies is fly. Grip the moment like you're gripping the earth. Feel a weight and you're feeling the girth. Now you get it, now you're feeling your worth. Fitness how you used to make when everything used to hurt. It goes, oh. No time to rest. Just do your best. What you hear is not a test. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you go.
I'm not over-exaggerating when I say I think Crash 4 is another one of the most important games in the series, next to juggernauts like Twinsanity and Titans. Those games dare to change up the franchise's formula in interesting and unique ways, and that's exactly what this game does. But its style, its tone, its music, and its portrayal of these characters, that's what makes Crash 4 truly stand out in the best of ways. Even before the game came out, the trailers and sneak peeks blew us all away. The initial reception was overwhelmingly positive.
The hype leading up to the game's release was through the roof. This was the first brand new Crash game on consoles since Crash Mind Over Mutant released in 2008, and I was so excited to experience it.
When that initial trailer dropped, I was hyped. This was what I'd been waiting for. Now it was time for a fully new Crash Bandicoot title.
When I first saw Crash 4, I was beyond stoked. After a decent set of remakes and what I consider among the greatest kart racers of all time, knowing we would get an actual new Crash game was something I would never see coming a mile away. But here we are, and it's all behind a team I know I can trust.
So the initial thoughts before release obviously was filled with a bunch of hype and a bunch of excitement because damn, we finally got a new Crash game. The hype surrounding it was insane. Everybody was going crazy. It's a feeling that we haven't really had since 2007, since during the Titans era.
My thoughts on Crash 4 before launch. It was about time. As the game title implies, we had been waiting forever. And Toys for Bob was at the helm. I mean, basically perfect. And that launch trailer with the song by Chemical Brothers, one of the best game trailers we've had in a very, very long time.
In terms of my general thoughts before Crash 4 released, I just remember seeing that announcement trailer for the first time and just being absolutely blown away by it.
One of my first impressions of Crash 4 when it got revealed was like, wow, finally. After so many years, we finally get a new Crash game.
This was the first brand new entry to the series since Mind Over Mutant, 12 years before Crash 4's release. The next piece of news that surprised us was that Toys for Bob was behind this game. They did a fantastic job on Reignited, but comparing its visuals and the graphical fidelity to Crash 4's, you can clearly see the difference. The devs had fine-tuned their skills exponentially. The previews were all amazing, and the buzz surrounding the game was loud and clear. So after the game released, what did everyone think?
I'm glad that after release, it was a fun time. I really loved playing it, even though the whole timeline thing is a little bit like weird now.
When the game came out, my hype was a little bit tempered. Crash 4, I'm mixed on. I have a love-hate relationship with this game. I feel like it gave us some of the best gameplay, and some of the worst.
In terms of after release, playing the game and really soaking it in, overall for me, I just felt that the game was kind of disappointed, and I'm on the record for saying that quite a lot. That doesn't mean the game was bad, and it certainly doesn't mean that it wasn't good either. There's a lot to love, and there was so much put into the game that you really appreciate, what Toys for Bob did.
Ah, now things are getting interesting. Just what exactly caused this small divide in fans' opinions now? It's not that anyone in the community hates this game, but nowadays when we look back at it, there's plenty to discuss. I've done my own share of critiquing some of the smaller intricacies Crash 4 presents, but I've praised the hell out of it as well. To get to the bottom of this, we'll need to pick apart a few core components of the game, from its gameplay to its art direction, and finally taking a look at the difficulty curve and how that factors into completion. Without further ado, let's dive right in. Crash 4's gameplay is a definite highlight. It feels like a classic Crash experience, but expanded on with many new moves and mechanics. Crash and Coco are at the front and center of this journey, but joining them are Cortex, Dingodile, and an alternate dimension version of Tawna. If you want to know more about her and why the devs went this route with her character, I did a character analysis of Tawna here. Combined with the newly introduced quantum masks that change up Crash and Coco's platforming, and you have a gameplay style that honors what came before, but also builds upon it to make something new.
Whether it's the new characters, new mechanics, collectibles like the gems and perfect relics, or the quantum masks, or even the flashback tapes, all these things mesh well together and basically what makes Crash 4 Crash 4.
I also love the addition of the quantum masks. They are the perfect addition to this game and add just enough depth to the gameplay beyond Crash's traditional platforming.
What I appreciated the most overall from the gameplay was that they didn't stray too far of what made Crash Bandicoot so damn good to begin with. They continue to kind of expand on the original formula, put in these new mechanics like the really cool wall running, the grinding, and once again, the quantum mask. There's a variety of different powers and different things, and there's levels built around their abilities. So they went a very smart path with implementing these new gameplays and these new mechanics and making things feel like old but feel fresh and new as well.
I did like how Crash and Coco played as, and the quantum mask, I really love how each of them were different. For the new characters, I did like Tawna and Dingodile and Cortex. I just wish they had more levels to themselves and not halfway levels. I mean, full-length levels.
The Wolverine and the grinding, I felt like were a natural evolution of what Crash can do, because it does feel like that's stuff Crash would and should do. And then having Coco also being in it, it just makes sense.
I cannot believe how much Toys for Bob took the core gameplay of Crash and evolved it in such a way that makes it more modern. Crash can swing on ropes, grind on rails like a Ratchet & Clank game, run along walls. It even gives you 3 new playable characters in the form of Tawna, Dingodile, and Cortex, which are such great deviations from the core gameplay without straying too far away and giving you some fun stuff to do. And I love the quantum masks and all they bring with the change in level design. You really have to think on your toes when using these things, and I love that.
Now, that's not to say the gameplay is flawless. Many fans have said before, and still believe to this day, that of the new characters to play as, Cortex sticks out as having the most stiff playstyle.
Cortex's gameplay was, I don't like the whole phasing things in and out. I kind of would rather have him just be a shooter.
I really want to like playing Cortex more, but I just couldn't get behind it.
The stuff with Dingodile, Tawna, and Cortex, the Cortex stuff to a lesser degree, I really liked, because overall, it played very similarly, just each character had their different moveset and way of traversing the level.
I'm not so much a fan of Cortex's gameplay though, thanks to how awkward his dash can be and how tedious his transforming gun is, although I do appreciate the attempt.
And for some fans, the game can get tough pretty quick.
The gameplay, on the other hand, can get really frustrating, especially for me, who just hates the concept of trial and error because I'm really impatient, but I still enjoyed my time playing it.
The overall experience, however, continues to be positive, because the level design is spectacular, the characters are all unique but never stray away from pure platforming, and Crash and Coco's new moves are very well integrated into their gameplay. I personally love the quantum masks, and everyone's got their own opinions on them, ranging from their personality to their gameplay.
Whilst only Lanny Lowly had much of any dialogue in the game for whatever reason, I do love each of their gameplay mechanics, and they really vary up the levels in clever and fun new ways.
Most of the Quantum Masks, I felt they were fine. Ika, I didn't really like, but it's only because it didn't feel responsive half the time. Like, it kind of felt luck-based if you were going to get a proper response, because the way it would work when the cooldown would work, it was like very odd.
And as gameplay gimmicks and as characters, I actually love the Quantum Masks. They are such a welcome addition to the franchise. Kapuna 1 might actually be my favorite of the bunch, but Lani Loli is definitely a close second, and it partially helps that they brought Chaos along to voice the guy.
Mascot platformers have always been bright, colorful, and wacky, and Crash is one of the pioneers of that. One of Naughty Dog's top inspirations for the conception of Crash has always been stated to be Looney Tunes. Jason Rubin and Andy Gavin wanted to essentially make a playable cartoon, and they certainly succeeded. This is important because Toys for Bob had a killer team of artists and animators who worked on Crash 4. And if you thought Crash was already a silly, harebrained cartoon character in the PS1 days, this game accentuates that tenfold. Squash and stretch, smear frames, off-model expressions, mid-air hang time, slapstick comedy, quick-paced visual gags, and punchy verbal jokes. This game has it all. This is by far the most expressive the Crash cast has ever been, and next to the gameplay, this was the other huge draw-in for us when the first trailers dropped. It also helps that plenty of the animators who worked on this game literally did animate several Looney Tunes shorts. Eric Drobel is one such animator, and seeing all his behind-the-scenes stuff is incredible. Not to mention, the entire cast featured in this game also got a nice lift in their character designs. Toys for Bob tasked themselves with drawing them exactly as they looked in the PS1 days to get the anatomy and feel down, then started going to extremes with proportions, accessories, etc., and finally dialed the designs back down to what we have in the final game. Yes, I'm aware of all the criticism surrounding these designs, it's basically par for the course at this point, but I don't care. These designs are so good, and I love them all. Crash is adorable, Coco's as cute as ever, Dingo's a big chungus, Cortex seems to have taken some design cues in his head and face from Mind Over Mutant, Alt-Tana's a badass, and everyone else looks great too. So 5 years later, what does everyone else think?
Crash 4, I feel, makes the characters look more lively and cartoony than I'd ever come to expect. It just feels natural when you watch the characters in motion. It's as wacky and zany as I'd come to expect from Crash Bandicoot, and I welcome it wholeheartedly.
I remember loving the new art style that Toys for Bob were going with right from that first trailer. Loved Crash's new design. I'm also a lover of Alt-Tana's new design, although I have to say, I think I prefer some of the designs in the art book that was released sometime after, with the giant boomerangs and such.
I remember seeing those images and being like, oh, the art style is way different. And personally, I really liked it. Like, upon seeing what Crash was gonna look like in this game, I loved it from the start. He looked absolutely adorable, and to this day, that's my favorite Crash design. Like, in general, I just love all the character designs. I think they all look great, and I just love how they're animated. Crash 4 is just all around a very visually appealing game, and I think that's what draws me to it the most.
I really enjoyed the art direction, but I already was a sucker for the Spiral reignited art direction, so seeing Crash get the same treatment and unifying them was just amazing. I like the cartoony look of them, and I feel it does fit the series, despite what others might say.
These character models are amazing. Crash is so expressive, like a Looney Tunes character. These are some of the best designs the characters have ever seen. Crash, Coco, Dingodile, Cortex, Brio Engine, and especially Entropy have never looked better than they have in this game, and the same goes for the world. This game is absolutely gorgeous and a treat to the eyes.
The art direction and character designs, I love. It's everything that I love from the original games all the way up to Mind Over Mutant.
What I like about the art style and animations is that it gives off that Looney Tunes vibe.
I personally believe that the Crash Bandicoot 4 designs are the best that the characters have ever looked. Crash and Coco look brilliant. I love the inclusion of Coco's goggles and the patches covering her overalls, which just make her feel a little bit more real. Alt-Tana looks unique and definitely stands out with her hair and the overall look. Cortex looks as good as ever, and I love that Dingodile has been turned into this absolute chonker of a unit with the assault vest that covers next to nothing, which was hilarious to me when I first saw it.
The art direction, I'm mixed on but love overall. Characters are great. I love the voice acting. Probably one of the funniest Crash games besides Mind Over Mutant. It feels like it's growing up. It's growing up with its audience, and I really liked that about both the art style and characters in this game.
Oh, and this game also has my personal favorite versions of other characters as well. Dingodile looks fantastic, and I loved getting to play as him. Even if he is one of those bigger, slow-moving characters, it was still fun to have the opportunity. And then there's Engine, who is so cute, and I love the fact that he's voiced by Corey Burton. He was my favorite Engine because of that one singular line in Wrath of Cortex.
Uka Uka?
That just sealed it for me. So I was super happy when he reprised the role in Insane, and then he came back for this, and he just sounds even better. I love it.
I think it's safe to say that the majority of the community loves this art direction, and I'm in that boat as well. Everyone looks good, the worlds and environments are fun and beautiful, the broken glass aesthetic for the multiverse is iconic and unique to this game, and while we're at it, huge props need to be given to the music as well. I didn't ask the community to give their thoughts on it, though Kiwi Dragon will sing its praises in a moment, no pun intended, but Walter Mayer's soundtrack is phenomenal. He blends a mimic of Josh Mansell's sound using familiar Crash instruments and samples of classic Crash tunes with his own more cinematic touch, and together the result is a truly epic soundtrack that feels as large as the adventure itself.
One thing I really want to make note of is the music. Too often I've seen complaints online calling the soundtrack bland and forgettable, but I disagree. I think Walter Mayer did a fantastic job composing for the game, and off the top of my head, the tracks that I can really recall enjoying were A Hole in Space from the Entropy boss fight, and themes from Home Cookin', Snow Way Out, Nitro Processing, and Cortex Castle, just to name a few.
And now, the last step in our journey. Crash 4 is a fun game with a fresh, updated take on the gameplay and characters, but for those who love beating games to maximum completion, you'll have your work cut out for you on this one. Lou Studdert, the producer for the game, once said this was a Crash game longtime fans couldn't just sit down and beat in an afternoon. And part of that can be accredited to the difficulty. You don't have to look hard to see that Crash 4 was heavily inspired by Crash 1. And yes, to this day, people still believe the Bandicoot's very first outing is among the harder games to beat. I grew up with the first game. It's the very first video game I ever played, so I'm more than used to it, but I digress. That's important to note, however, because going into Crash 4, even I was stunned by just how much there is to do in this game, and how steep the difficulty curve gets. Let's break this down. Crash 4 is abundant with collectibles to grab. You have 6 gems in each level, 3 for collecting Wumpa Fruit, 1 for breaking all the crates, 1 for dying 3 times or less, and a hidden gem you have to find in the level. Then there are the colored gems, which return from Crash 2 and 3. Then you have the insanely perfect relics, which essentially run off the Crash 1 rules of playing the level perfectly with all crates broken and no deaths. And then there are the flashback tapes, which you have to reach without dying to grab, like the Death Route platforms in 2 and 3. Sounds simple enough, right? We're not done yet. After beating Brio, you unlock Inverted Mode, a mirror mode version of each and every level, boss fights included, that comes with another 6 gems to grab. They also change the location of the hidden gems, so be prepared for that. Time Trial relics are back, but this time Platinum relics are the standard to go for, when it was the gold ones previously. And those flashback tapes unlock extra challenge levels that need to be perfected by earning a Platinum flashback relic, which you get by breaking all the crates. Whew, what the hell happened here? All of this counts toward both 100 and 106% completion, and it is just way too much. Now don't get me wrong, you do get some neat perks by doing a lot of this stuff. Collecting gems will reward you with cool skins for Crash and Coco, and at first the flashback tapes are actually kind of cool to go through, since canonically they respectively take place before the events of Crash 1 with Crash, and in between Crash 1 and 2 with Coco, plus they straight up reuse the OG Crash 1 and 2 music, but to many fans it feels like Toys for Bob went too far. And this is further compounded by the fact that you can take a step back and see that even the core components of Crash's gameplay were hiked up in this game specifically. Let me explain. Crash's core gameplay consists of platforming, breaking crates, collecting gems, and beating bonus rounds. Every one of these has been stretched to its maximum complexity here. The platforming starts to get a lot more strict by the halfway point of the game. Crates are sometimes hidden in very hard to see spots, or sometimes you can't even see them at all. Gems start to get tougher to grab because of the crates and level difficulty, and as I said in my quick reviews of this game, even bonus rounds aren't safe, as they also get harder and harder to beat. These components are what made older Crash games fun to run through, because they were never that daunting to go for. The difficulty curve felt much more natural, but here, the curve starts way earlier and never lets up. For all of us casual platformer fans, this makes Crash 4 the single hardest Crash game to fully complete.
It's hard to 106%. To me, the worst thing about this game was definitely the insanely perfect relic. I hate doing that. I can't stand it. Otherwise, I love the game. It's still my favorite Crash Bandicoot game of all time.
It really did start to get hard closer to, the final levels, which made sense. It's supposed to be getting harder. And no, I definitely did not 100% or 106% the game because I couldn't.
Honestly, it's daunting, and I understand people who like to complete it would be having a hard time. As far as I know, for every console game that had relics, platinum was not required. It was just an extra fun thing, but it was gold that was required for completion, so I don't like how they did that. I don't mind inverted mode, but I don't think the gems being required was a good idea. I felt like inverted mode was weird, and the tying line levels should not have been half levels for the new characters and then half levels for Crash and Coco. It should have just been full on levels for the new characters.
No, I didn't 106% the game. I didn't even 100% the game. I'm not even going to try. I've never fully completed any Crash game. That's just not what I do.
Even though the game can be very challenging at times, the game is enjoyable to play once you get used to it.
To this day, I'm still on the fence on this game's difficulty curve. For one hand, it feels fairly challenging at times. On the other hand, by the game's halfway point, I feel they went completely overboard in some areas. I'm all for looking for hidden boxes wherever I see it, but the way they go out of their way to hide these things in the most obscure places is just too much. Relics are always a welcome addition, but I am very mixed on the idea of going for platinum this time around. And don't even talk to me about inverted mode. This I feel should have been a bonus and not a requirement for full completion. The perfect relics I feel is what deters me the most for going for 106%. This feels like a game that was made with hardcore fans in mind, and it definitely shows.
So one of the things I love about games in the Crash Bandicoot franchise is that they're easy to pick up and play. With Crash 4, you can't do that. It's a game designed for older game players and experts of the series. The difficulty curve jacks up from the moment you enter Engine's levels and never lets up. The levels are long. I always feel there's one too many repeated sections in each level and think they'd benefit from being cut down. This would also help the hellish time trials and shrinking the number of crates in each level. In fact, the game is brutal with a lot of crate placements to the point they stop being very enjoyable to collect, with many being hidden off screen. I don't like that design philosophy. The same applies to many of the hidden gems. It's like they're so close with the idea, but then they go too far with the execution. To date, it's the only Crash game I have not fully % completed.
Getting 106%. Lou Studdert says the game wasn't hard enough. You are an evil man. You finally made a game that I cannot beat. I just wish it wasn't Crash.
The difficulty curve is the one thing that I'm a bit 50-50 on. Completing the game is genuinely a nightmare. The amount of things that you have to do, like insanely perfect relics, getting the platinum time relics, and the amount of hidden crates, can sometimes kill the mood of this game. However, when just playing the core game, it is the most fun I've ever had with a 3D platformer.
I thought 100%ing it was just completely unnecessary. I think the collectibles were oversaturated as well when it comes to the gems and when it comes to even some of the crates in a few of these levels. I felt like the difficulty came from some very weird design choices, with crate placements and things of that nature. But outside of some of those faults, the game was difficult and it was challenging in a good way, outside of some of the faulty things that I pointed out.
And yeah, as mentioned just now, it would have made the completion experience so much better if some collectibles went to something other than 106%, or were just there for bragging rights. But as it stands, 5 years later, it is very much evident that trying to beat this game is still a great challenge. However, for speedrunners and completionists, this game seems to be right up their alley, as they see the collectibles and difficulty curve as something to truly learn and overcome, which is highly admirable. In fact, here are some of their thoughts.
My final thoughts on the difficulty curve with Crash 4 is I love it. Despite inverted mode being a hindrance to your progress and gameplay, it still all is ultimately a very good challenge that you can go through, and it also gives the game its own sense of identity. Even then, it's still a good thing to have, because you can't have a game without flaws. I've seen a lot of misconceptions regarding the Platinum Relics being too difficult or too tedious to achieve, especially now that they're a requirement to finish the game fully. All you need is good platforming, decent enough gameplay, and good usage of the quantum masks. You don't even need to use the triple spin.
The difficulty curve, it's challenging. It's challenging, but I feel like it slowly teaches you as you go through the game. I love like slowly discovering like where things are in the levels, like learning the mechanics and learning where the placements of all the boxes and the hidden gems are in the game. And it still like messes with my mind sometimes, because like when I replay, I'll be like, oh shoot, did I miss that this time?
Crash 4 is a game about time. It's a game about nostalgia, about rewards, about the characters, about learning to trust again, and about fun. Even if it can be tough at times, this game still has so much to offer, and it came at just the right time to show us what the next step for Crash would look like.
Looking back, I think the biggest thing for me at the time was that when the game was revealed in that trailer, we were in the height of a global pandemic and most of us were stuck indoors probably replaying old Crash Bandicoot games, or at least I was. So to have a new game revealed at that time was not only a bright spark of hope and positivity in what was an incredibly depressing time, but also generally the fact that we got a wholly brand new Crash Bandicoot game was just an amazing thing to be part of.
We're lucky we even got this game at all, but I'm glad we did, because it proved me wrong when I thought there was nothing more that could be done with Crash's old formula. It revitalized something in us, that sense of fun and excitement that we all felt with the older games when we were younger.
I did 106% the game. A little too much. I've played this game to completion like way too many times now. But I still do it every once in a while. It reminded me of when I played Crash Bandicoot 1 for the first time. That was my very first video game. And like, it was hard. It was hard as a kid. And I slowly, like, the more I played it, the more I got familiar with the worlds, and now it's a breeze. And I feel like Crash Bandicoot 4, for me at least, like, captured that same feeling.
I've 106%ed this game more than 10 times, and I own it on my PS4, my PS5, PC on Battle.net, and my Switch. And in every single version, especially PC, I have completed this game at 106%, way more than I can count. It's safe to say that this game is my #1 go-to pick.
To see the hype that game had, to see how excited the community at large was, it was an incredibly special time, even if there, was arguments about the redesigns of several characters and their voice actors being changed.
Crash 4 does a lot that I like. I love how the story picks up after Crash 3's ending in a very natural way and attempts to slot itself in the timeline without ruffling too many feathers. I love the running joke of Crash always crashing out of a dimensional portal until he finally does a smooth landing late on in the game. I love that the game attempts to focus on the most popular characters of the original trilogy in Entropy and Dingodile in their own ways.
I loved hearing about this back in the day, and I still look back on it fondly to this day. I think this game was well worth the wait.
Happy Crash Community Day, and happy 5th anniversary to Crash 4. Here's to seeing where the Bandicoot travels next.
About now, funk soul brother. Right about now.